Hey everybody, welcome to Just Cook with Michael. Today, after watching this video, you will know how to bone a chicken. The first thing you need when boning a bird is a pretty sharp knife. So I have this boning knife. I love these sharpeners. They make it extremely sharp. I also have my cleaver sharpened. What makes a boning knife is basically they're a pretty flexible blade compared to a chef's knife. But boning knives are kind of flexible. They're very thin. Usually the blade isn't that wide. It doesn't necessarily have to be a boning knife per se, but something similar to this. Thin, sharp, not too bulky to be able to kind of follow the contours of the bones of the chicken. I'm making a coq au vin, which is a French kind of chicken stew, and I decided instead of buying chicken stock, I would just buy a whole bird, part it out, and make a stock with the bones. It does take some time, but it's something worth doing once if you're into cooking, because there's definitely a difference between a stock, homemade stock, and something you buy at the store. I mean, the amount of gelatin you get out of the stock is incredible. About a 6-hour process of boiling the bones, but that pulls the natural gelatin out of the bones. The collagen in the bones breaks down, and that takes time. And at the end of this, when you actually put it in the refrigerator, it'll set up like a Jell-O, because that's what Jell-O is. Jell-O is the gelatin they get for Jell-O is from boiling the bones. So here we go. I like to take out if there's any gizzards in the middle, I'll take those out, have a bowl with me to set those in, and then take off the wings. You can see that wing just pops right out the bone, and then you just basically go right through the knuckle of the bird. This is all going to go into the stock. So again, grabbing the bird, twisting that joint until it popped over here by the wing, but that's okay. I'll go through here. There's the knuckle, and there's one over here too I can't get to right now. But and then for the legs, the same thing. Right where the leg kind of goes into the breast here. Again, it's going to get a sensory of kind of what's going on with the muscle structure. So feel in there, and you'll feel like a cavity between the end of the breast here and the leg. And that's where you're going to go with your knife. And just kind of like a thin slice. And you can see that was just skin I cut into. So already there's a clear separation of the breast and the body from the leg. And you could keep on just cutting away at it slightly. Again, so far, really no meat has been cut. Still cutting away at the skin. And then when it gets to this point, again, this should pop, and there it goes. The leg bone popped from the body of the bird, and you just kind of follow along that pattern. And we'll save this. I'll debone the leg and keep the leg meat for the chicken coq au vin. Same thing on this side. Kind of get a feel for in between that area between the breast and the leg. Just kind of run your knife to cut the skin open. There you go. And then just kind of like one hand on the body, one hand on the leg, pull it until it pops. There's that knuckle there. And I will just start to cut around that knuckle and basically go right through that. And then as you're cutting the leg off, you basically just keep a little pressure of the knife against the body. And that helps you make sure you're getting all the meat off of the bird. So you're just kind of running it along the body. There you go. So we'll save that. Okay, we're going to debone that. So now all we have left is the breast meat. There's a bone that runs right down the middle of the two breasts. You definitely, that's meaty, there's a bone right down the middle. Your chicken wishbone is right there. Run right down the length of that bone. Again, this knife is pretty sharp, so you just kind of let the knife do the work for you. And then right away, I see the structure of that bone. It's right here. I'll try to get this side off a little bit. And you just kind of like keep your knife, again, pressed up against that bone, and you just slowly separate the breast meat from the carcass. So again, there's your breastbone right down the center of it. And you just kind of keep your knife pressed up against that bone and just kind of work away by thin slices the breast meat from the rib cage. So again, here I'm pressing my knife slightly against the rib cage and just peeling away the breast meat. Right here is the wishbone, and that is it. That's your chicken breast meat. This is the tenderloin. So this is a lot of times if they make really good chicken tenders, not the kind you get at McDonald's, they're all basically like chicken sausage. Now I'll work on the other side. Again, my knife is pressing up against the rib cage. I'm just slowly rubbing up against the rib cage, going through the bones. Now right up here in the front, next to the wishbone, right here now, I could cut out this wishbone finish up by just following the contours of the rib cage. Just always kind of pressing up against the rib cage to try to get as much meat off the rib cage. If you're making chicken soup, basically all this meat that's attached still to the rib cage, after a while it just peels off that rib cage, so none of it goes to waste. You just kind of like scoop out the bones after it's been simmering for a few hours, and so you're using the entire animal, which is obviously always a good thing. There's your rib cage. I have the wings in here. Now I'll show you how to debone one of the legs. So here's the upper thigh bone here, popping out. And that bone, and just keep the blade of the knife against that bone. Again, come on the top of that leg and just slowly slice at it until you get to the bone. Now I'm at the bone, and you just follow that contour of the bone. So let the bone of the bird be your guide. And then, so now it's kind of filleted open. I'm gonna go on top of the bone and just cut away. And then come on this side of the bone, and again, follow it around that knuckle. And then basically you're kind of going under the bone. Did about a 180-degree cut where I peeled the meat off the chicken leg, and now I'm underneath it. Now I'm just pressing up on the bone and following that contour. Follow that contour around the knuckle. I'm going to do the same thing on the foot side of the bird. I'm under it. Then I follow the bone. Now I have the two bones in my hand, and slowly, just gently, I'm not using a lot of force here, as you can see, just slowly kind of like following the bone and peeling away. If I hit bone, I just release a little bit. That's it. So that's your whole leg bone structure there. That'll go in stock pot. This is your thigh meat. So when you buy thigh meat at the store, this is what you're getting here. Comes the fat structure, most of it peels right off the bird. You could slowly just get your sharp knife and trim it away. Okay, now we have our deboned leg. This is again your thigh meat. This is what they call the dark meat on a turkey or chicken. So that's it. I'm just going to show you how to do the one bird. I'm actually doing two whole chickens today. Just from that one bird, you can see that's a decent amount of bones. I'm guessing you can make a good 1 gallon stock with one chicken. I'm going to debone another chicken, so this pot's going to be filled up, and then I'll fill it up with cold water. I'm going to let it simmer for about 6 hours. There's no set time necessarily. I think for sure you need more than 4. When I worked in hotels before, basically these things would simmer all day long. The guys who came in the morning would start it. At the very end of the night, we would take out the bones, drain the stock, skimming it all along. In between orders, whoever's around is skimming the stock to take off a little bit of the scum or fat that comes off the top. It's also really easy to take off the fat once you chill your stock, because the fat separates from the liquid, and you could easily just basically, it becomes hard, and you just could with a spoon just shave it or scoop it out. Now we're going to make what they call a bouquet garni in French. You're tying up a few herbs together, and we're going to drop that in the stock pot. The stock cooks for so long, again, for about 6 hours, that I don't put it in at the very beginning, maybe the last hour or two. Just get some Italian herbs you have in the garden or from the store, kind of bunch those all together, tying them up. It's just kind of like a little flavor packet that you could easily pull out of the stock later. Okay, here's our stock. Cover the bones with water, and don't baby it. Just turn it on about as low of heat as you can and let it simmer for about 6 hours. Towards the last hour, you could put in your bouquet garni. If you're around about once every hour, half hour, you could, if there's some scum that develops on the top, you could scoop it out. The way you do that is if there's scum, you get a ladle and you just put it right under the water line, and you can see it'll just slowly, the scum that's on the top will go inside the ladle. But again, most of the scum and also the oil, once you put it in the refrigerator, it will rise to the top, and it's easy to just scrape off once it solidifies, once the gelatin sets. Okay, my stock is done. I put it in the refrigerator overnight, and now it's solidified. You can see it's very firm. All of the fat rose to the top. It makes it really easy. You just kind of come through and scoop that fat right out of there. You can see this is just the same exact consistency as Jell-O.